y'all, it's me, the Bus, and welcome back to Hot or Hot. And today we'll be reviewing the penultimate episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 10, the Tournament of All-Stars. Our 8 remaining queens were challenged to showcase their talents in the All-Stars 10 Talent Invitational, and the runway category was foiled again. So we'll be going queen by queen to break all that down, but first we'll be covering the latest in the drama and downfall of Mistress Isabelle Brooks. So it's no secret that since the pink bracket first aired, it seems almost all we've been able to talk about as a collective fan base is Mistress Isabelle Brooks, the main character of All-Stars 10. Mistress has done a masterful job of capturing the fan base's attention with her antics, shenanigans, and antagonization of the rest of her cast members. But while Mistress has done a great job getting everybody talking about her, she's ruffled quite a few feathers along the way and left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And in today's episode, she may have finally gone too far. Queens from the franchise are speaking out against her, fans are writing essays on Twitter and Reddit about how much they despise her, and we're here all talking about it today. But let's take a closer look at what happened this episode, which starts off with Mistress being a little delulu and a little obnoxious about how she perceived her Snatch Game performance to be. She's going on about how she thinks she never should have been in the bottom because she was one of the few queens getting laughs, which we, as fans in the edit of the show, didn't see, and throws such a tantrum that she announces to the room that she doesn't even need Drag Race because she can just sit at home and play games on YouTube to collect coins. Which, like, sidebar, yes, we all know that's true. She has hundreds of thousands of subscribers and thousands of people on her Patreon, and she doesn't need Drag Race for bookings, but like, what a big slap in the face to the other girls in the room who are there to showcase their drag, win some new fans, and get some bookings. When also, I'll note here, the real tea is she wouldn't be able to play games on YouTube and make money from that if it weren't for Drag Race in the first place. And so yeah, she arguably actually does need Drag Race just as much as the other girls. Anyways, I'm sat here at this point in the episode thinking, okay, she's throwing a little tantrum, but she probably deserves a little bit of benefit of the doubt because we know Snatch Game is a heavily edited challenge, which tells the story of the choices the production makes in terms of top and bottom placements, meaning we only saw her bad responses because she was placed in the bottom, and it is possible that there were some good responses she gave that got laughs. A claim, by the way, she continues to assert even on her YouTube channel in her Snatch Game breakdown that she did with Aja. Regardless, her attitude here is off-putting, I think, to us as viewers and also the other girls in the room who say she's sucking the air and joy out of it. But here again, to also be totally fair to her, the editors were very much overemphasizing how shady she was being, and we heard all of the shady rat-tat-tat-tat-tat noises and the cymbal flare sounds that they do when queens say something shady. And so yes, at the beginning of the episode, she was being a little unbearable, but it was also emphasized by the reality TV nature of the show. However, her attitude only seems to get worse when the girls show up the next day in the workroom. And when everyone is sat around the workroom table, Aja is trying to have a moment of reflection with her peers about how she wasn't feeling super present last week during Snatch Game, but is here this week and ready to slay. But while Aja's trying to have her moment, Mistress starts laughing next to her, seemingly to nothing, which prompts Aja to ask her why she's laughing. To which Mistress simply responds, "Keep talking, I'm listening." But then Mistress does the most unhinged thing I think I've ever seen a Drag Race contestant do on this show. She literally leans into Aja's head and starts laughing directly into her ear, which was truly wild. Absolutely wild. Like, I would absolutely lose my mind if somebody did that to me. And I can only think here that Mistress is just trying to do anything she possibly can to pull focus because she feels that she's losing it. But wow, was that crazy. And I probably would have lost it if somebody did that to me. But Aja handles this situation with so much maturity and grace and ends up simply telling Mistress that she's doing too much in this situation and that she needs to humble herself and de-escalate what's going on because it's getting in the way of who Mistress is. Which then prompts Mistress to say she won't be taking any advice from someone in her position. But again, Aja masterfully navigates this, doesn't take the bait, and they have a little bit of back and forth where Aja masterfully navigates the conversation and ultimately leaves Mistress looking like Boo Boo the Fool. But I've got a question for you. Ever been ripped off by your phone carrier while traveling abroad? I have, and it sucks. But that'll never happen to me again thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Saley, a new eSIM service app now offering affordable data plans in over 180 countries. Here's what happened. Last time I went to Mexico, my carrier charged me $35 for a 5GB data plan that only lasted 10 days. But guess what, Mimi? I ran through that quicker than I could get my second set of thirst traps up. So there I was set by Boo Boo the Pool looking like a fool, having to shell out even more money for more data. They got me, gal. But the tea is, Saley's got data plans for Mexico starting at a fraction of that cost and lasting a lot longer. And now when I travel, I can tell my phone carrier, "Not today, Satan," and rest easy knowing I've got the most affordable data plan on the market. Plus, Saley's a prepaid service, meaning you'll never get hit with unexpected overage fees. To get started, use my link below to download the Saily app to your mobile device. Then select your destination, choose your plan, and enter code BUSSYQUEEN to get an exclusive 15% discount. And just like that, you're ready to travel with the freedom of no roaming fees, no waiting in line to get a SIM card at the airport, and no worrying about connecting to shady Wi-Fi in foreign countries. Download Saily right now using my link below or QR code on screen, and don't forget to enter code BUSSYQUEEN to get an exclusive 15% discount on your plan. Thanks, Saily, for sponsoring today's video. And we've seen some queens from the franchise speak out about this, like Pandora Box, who posted on Facebook. There's the bitchy villain edit, and then there's just being the C word. And then we also had Miss Kasha Davis say in a comment section on a preview of the episode, writing, "I would not tolerate anyone laughing in my face like that, for the camera or not. I give Aja all the credit for keeping her cool." And fans have taken to Twitter, Reddit, and whatever other social media platforms to give their think pieces on how Mistress is a bully and Mistress is evil and yada yada yada. And yeah, this behavior was pretty crazy to see, as I've already acknowledged, and I think definitely overstepping the "I'm just making good TV" defense that she typically uses to defend her antics. But I guess the more interesting thing we see in this episode is that the beef between Mistress and Aja is seemingly squashed midway through the episode. Lydia asks Mistress and Aja how they're doing, and Mistress responds that they're just bitches who will read each other down and then kiki in the mirror later, and Aja gives a similar response, downplaying the drama of the situation. And I think seeing these two having a normal reaction here is a great breather for us as fans, because it allows us to take a step back and remember that, yes, we are watching reality TV, and there are certain people who are cast on this season who will do anything to get talked about and create viral moments. But the reality is, all these girls, mostly from what I can tell, are friends behind the scenes, and even Mistress and Aja, as I already acknowledged earlier, did a video together a couple weeks ago covering Snatch Game and what really happened. And so yeah, we as a fan base can rant and rave about the antics of Mistress online all we want, but ultimately that's been her goal the entire time, to ruffle feathers and get herself talked about. Because I don't actually think she went into All Stars thinking that she was going to win the season, because honestly, winning may have even been bad for her brand of TV villain. And instead, I think, as she said, she just went on to All Stars to create unforgettable reality TV, which she has successfully done, whether we like it or not. And I think when we look back at this era of Drag Race in 5 to 10 years, we're going to be talking about Mistress as one of the most impactful queens on the franchise. But of course, I'd love to know what y'all are thinking about all the crazy drama and antics we've seen from Mistress thus far in the comments below. Anyways, let's jump into this week's episode. In the order they performed their talents, first up, it's Aja, who starts off her talent show number completely unhinged, biting the head off of a stuffed chicken, which immediately gave me PTSD war flashbacks to when Azalea Banks went viral for posting a photo of a closet full of chicken guts in her house. Anybody? Are y'all here for that? Anyways, Aja turns her performance into a high energy dance track pretty quickly with some voguing, some costume changes, some dips, and of course some excellent lip syncing to her original track. But it wasn't her lip syncing the words of this track that gagged me, it was her lip syncing the screams throughout it. And it was also something I was living for, because it was taking me back to a lip sync she went viral for maybe 4 or 5 years ago when she lip synced to Get Me Tonight by Shannon, where she's doing a similar thing with all the crazy faces and lip syncing to robot noises. She then ends her performance swinging a machete around, and I overall had a really great time with Aja. I thought this was a great high energy opening performance for the talent show, but I do think she was kind of a victim of her own past success, because she, on All Stars 3, gave one of the most iconic talent show numbers to this day when she jumped off the box. It was still great, and I'm gonna give this performance a hot. And over on the runway, Aja's looking absolutely phenomenal yet again. She's giving us a 10-woman Wakanda powerful space woman type of fantasy. And like, can we just clock that last week and this week her runways have been top tier. She came back to the semifinals with a vengeance, because like, compare these looks to some of the looks from her bracket. There's a league of difference between them, and it makes me really proud and happy for her to see the evolution that she's had just in this, what, like 1 year gap time span of filming these two segments. And I personally was kind of gagged when Law Roach was going in on Aja's outfit, saying that he thought it should have been more refined and elegant, because I don't think that was necessarily the point of this look. This was just one of the many looks Law Roach was not happy with tonight, but over here on the Bus Queen channel, we stand. This look is hot. And next up, it's Bosco, who in the challenge gives us, to nobody's surprise, a burlesque number with a comedic twist. Where her spin here on this number is to poke fun of all the ugly girls and what they would have to do if they weren't as pretty as her, like turning tricks or doing reveals and showing skin. All of which she expertly does while she makes these tongue-in-cheek comments in the song, proving that even if she were ugly, which she's not, she's drop dead fucking gorgeous, she can do anything and everything she puts her mind to. This number was irreverent, stupid, silly, and I love the chair work where she was opening the legs and balancing upside down. This performance was hot. And over the runway, she turns the corner and says to us that she chose to go the route of looking really effing good for this runway. And she did not lie. This look is insanely beautiful, like breathtakingly gorgeous. I think one of the best looks to ever grace the Drag Race runway. And I just love how she's managed to be so elegant, dark, moody, and vampiric in her own creepy devil way, while also just being so glamorous and beautiful. This coat gown combo is insane. Whoever designed and made this look should be so effing proud. Like, it is truly incredible what has been achieved here with the shape and silhouette. Bosco looks amazing. This look is hot. Actually, no, this look is not just hot, it's burning up. And next up, hide your bugs, it's Daya Betty. Who in the challenge takes us to the alternative punk corporate world of drag, I suppose, where she starts off sitting on a copy fax machine and where her assistants are around her copying and printing her finest assets for distribution. And during the segment, she's singing or whispering a lot of words that I don't totally understand. I think in part because of the mixing of the vocals was just not great with the song, but I was literally just sitting there like, what's going on, what's she saying? She's on a copy machine. Okay, now she's dancing. Great, she's dancing. And it did pick up for me when she started dancing, and I enjoyed the little stunts of her getting the coffee pot poured all over her chest and then stapling the check to her butt at the end. And whether the reference was intentional or not, I did like being taken back to that music video FK Twigs released last year as part of the Eusexia album for, I think, the Drums of Death song. My overall evaluation of this performance is kind of mixed though, because I didn't leave it with a memorable moment or lyrics stuck in my head, and I feel like I didn't learn anything new about Daya Betty. It was just kind of her having fun. And so, like, I would give this like a very safe hot. And over the runway, she is screaming for our attention and an absolutely insane balls to the wall crazy look. This is one of the most unhinged things next to Mistress laughing in Aj's ear that we've ever seen on the show. Like, Daya's giving me One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Escape Asylum patient realness with the crazy space buns, the face tape. I mean, the whole duct tape gown situation. She's giving mummy, she's giving princess, ballerina, girl, I don't know what's going on. But for all of the insanity that it is, I do actually like and appreciate this look because the duct tape thing is very much an homage to club kids, baby queens, and performers who, when they don't have a lot of money, make use of simple items around them to create looks, like duct tape. But this look isn't actually made of duct tape. From what I can tell, it looks to be different layers of shiny fabric evoking the duct tape fantasy. Which, like, sidebar, is crazy because Drag Race runways have gone from literally having duct tape as part of a look a la Detox All-Stars 2 Future of Drag runway that shook the nation to now queens wearing looks that are made of fabrics to look like duct tape because they've got so much money that they can just do that now. Gag of the season. Anyways, this look is fun, irreverent, weird. I liked it. I'm gonna give it a hot. And next up, the reason for the season, Ginger Minj, who in the challenge definitely brings a little bit of Broadway, maybe some vaudeville to the stage with her big, booming vocals that absolutely fill up this pre-recorded track. Like, she sounded amazing on this, and I could just picture how her singing this live also probably would have gone amazingly. And I definitely would rank this talent show number, if I were to make a list of all of them, in the top 10 somewhere. I was very impressed. I was laughing at jokes in the song like, if you don't crown me, you're a homophobe, and how she was self-deprecating and acknowledging her previous failures about how she's lost Drag Race 3 times and dressed like a frog. And I was very entertained overall with what happened here. Ginger, this performance was totally hot. And over the runway, I think we've got a gag on this look a little bit too, because even though this was yet another look that Laura Broach did not like, I appreciated it because Ginger's never been a fashion queen. Like, we know that. This look is, I think, a huge step in the right direction for her. Like, let's just remember real quick that the last time she wore a chrome look, and also the All-Stars 2 Future of Drag runway, she looked like this, but now she looks like this. Let's acknowledge the glow up, and I'm gonna give it a hot. And next up invading the season, it's Irene the Alien, who in the challenge challenge, as we know, is coming into this talent show with a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, because as she has reminded us countless times this season, she was sent home first on her original season to the talent show number, where you remember she failed to get laughs teaching us how to make a glass of water. The thing is, though, I think that intense desire for her to prove herself came through in this performance. Like, it was almost like a desperate plea for attention, where she was popping a baton in her hand out of nowhere, doing cartwheels, drinking water, doing ventriloquy, modifying the 16th place ribbon in the background to first place, and then finally going over to canvas to pretend to paint a glass of water, which she holds up proudly at the end. There's no real focus in the performance besides her just desperately trying to remind us or teach us that Irene has talent, which, like, at this point in the competition, we do know. Like, she has already proven herself with her 3 top placements and 1 full win in her bracket from this season. And this just kind of felt like an overwhelming whiplash of look over here, look over here, look over here. I'm gonna prove to you how good I am. This performance wasn't bad enough to be a rot or anything. It just wasn't one of my favorites, so I'm gonna leave it with a warming up. But over on the runway, she absolutely kills it yet again. I don't think she's had a single bad look this season. Here she is doing a look in homage to the Valkyrie, Queen of Disguise, where she's got her arms stuffed into the wings of the look that she's flapping down the runway, which are so gorgeously crafted, by the way, as are the armor pieces, the headdress, everything is just meticulously beautiful. And I thought, as always, on the runway, Irene is finding a way to gag us, surprise us, and leave us wondering what the hell her crazy brain is gonna come up with next. This look is totally hot. And next up, is that getting a little muggy in here? It's Jorgeous, who in the challenge performs an original number called Muggy, which of course is a 100% focus on her core drag talent and ability performance. She's doing cartwheels, dips, some voguing, some lip syncing, and even though the track really wasn't anything special, I did like the It's So Muggy lyric. It was very catchy. Plus, she brought in a lyrical reference to one of her most iconic tweets of all time, where she said, "F, this turkey makes me want to vogue. Should I?" And I'm like, is this exactly what I expected Jorgeous to do for the talent show? Yes. But did she also slay it down? Absolutely. And I love that she was able to give us that fierce performance, choreography, but also tie in some comedy. And it shows me that she is, as a queen, evolving and, listening to the feedback from the judges and thinking about how to elevate herself. And this performance definitely was hot. And over the runway, God send help. Please, we've got another amazing look. I don't know what was in the water when the girls were planning their runways for this return to the semifinals, but they all kind of slayed. Jorgeous' look is this disco ball mirror gown with a gorgeous star headpiece that has hair coming off the back of it, with some more stars decorating the look. And I'm curious, when y'all were watching Jorgeous come down the runway in this and you saw the star pieces, did you think of her original star-shaped cookie cutter bathing suit look from season 14? Like, was that an intentional reference she was doing or just a coincidence? Either way, though, we're gonna say that the cookie cutter bathing suit thing was like the first evolution of this look, and this one is the final, where it actually finally looks good. And this, by the way, was yet another look that La Roach did not like. And he's got his opinions or whatever, but I've reflected on mine, and I think this look was hot. And next up, butthole, butthole, butthole. It's Lydia B Kollins, who, in the challenge, performs a sort of Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme burlesque fusion number, where she's dressed as an egg with many reveals. First in a gorgeous yellow, then a blue, then some rhinestones covering the nether regions, where she's perched herself on a big golden wall, of course, preparing for her fall, which happens and ultimately results in her becoming a yolk in the frying pan. I enjoyed this performance because it was quirky, it was different, it was not like the other girls. And all the costuming she had for this performance was absolutely beautiful, and I enjoyed the smartness of what she was doing, but I don't think the final execution, as the judges kind of call out, was as good as it could have been. So, there was no subversion, there was no surprise, and I think that kind of ruined the finale of the performance, even though it was visually interesting. And so this was like a soft rot, mostly for execution's reasons. Over on the runway, though, she gives us a chrome xenomorph look, which is really elegant, beautiful, and interestingly structural with the way she's placed these armor pieces on the look. And the thing is, when I saw this, I wasn't totally gagged because we have seen several different xenomorph interpretations on the Drag Race runway at this point. Evie Alde on All Star 7, La Grande Dame, Chelsea Boy on Drag Race Holland. And no, none of these looks have been the same, but I do think that we may be running into a bit of a cliched and overdone thing at this point. Like, we may be having a Marie Antoinette situation on our hands if queens continue to do xenomorph fantasies. But, this was the first time we saw Chrome, and I think she looks gorgeous. I'm gonna give this look a hot. But did it belong in a museum? As La Roach said, I don't know about that. Next up, it's Mistress Isabelle Brooks, main character of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 10. At least in her head. And the challenge, Mistress had a lot of good ideas here that just ultimately weren't funny. And with everything going on in the lyrics of this track, I felt overwhelmed. It started off with her behind these cutouts of Michelle and T.S. Madison, which she later tells Michelle were there to represent befores of the Ozempic drug that she's doing the advertisement for, which doesn't really make sense to me. But after she gives us the, is body positivity not giving you enough likes on social media anymore? Try Ozempic. We get a spoken word lip sync advertisement for Ozempic, which to me kind of was a shoulder shrug because it didn't advertise itself to be anything other than Ozempic. It was basically just her in the second half of this performance lip syncing like 1,000 words a minute a la a medical drug ad, and also taking digs at non-binary people and people with blue hair along the way. This could have been interesting if she took it somewhere other than that first level, but she just didn't, so I'm gonna give this a rot. Over on the runway though, I think this was actually one of Mistress's best runways this season. I love the chrome armor pieces, the mohawk, how she's done this looks really punky, edgy, cool, and it is in Mistress's style, over the top and crazy. La Roche goes in on this look too, saying the chains were too much, and like, yeah, I could see taking the chains on or off, but like, it's kind of just an accessory that I think is additive to the look, and I think Mistress looks good in this, and so I'm gonna give it a hot. Which brings us to our placements, where Aja, Daya, and Irene are called as safe, and where our tops of the episode are Bosco, Ginger, and Jorgeous. Of course, leading our bottom two is Lydia and Mistress, and I was mostly okay with these placement decisions, but I also could have seen justification for Daya or Irene in the bottom instead of Lydia. But I think in true Drag Race nature, I think the producers couldn't resist the storyline of putting the drag mother and drag daughter, which are newly formed on this season, into the bottom two to lip sync against each other. And the judges here do give the win to Bosco, which I think is totally deserved and justifiable. But I also kind of think Ginger swept this talent show. Like, I kind of thought she won, and it's whatever. Like, she already has so many wins that it doesn't even matter at this point, and it's like, yeah, let's just spread the wins around to the other queens because they did great as well. And genuinely, this was a pretty good talent show. Like, I was entertained throughout, and I was impressed with the production quality, general dance. I mean, it was good all around. And hey, I do want to quickly remind you, hello, that I actually react to every episode of Drag Race that I review, and you can watch those reactions with me on my Patreon by clicking the link below. So make sure to click below right now. You can join for free and upgrade later if you like, and you can watch the finale with me next week. See you there. But a lip sync between Lydia and Mistress is not as climactic as I think maybe we were all hoping. It's a Guess by Charlie featuring Billy, you know the song. It won a Grammy, and this lip sync really just like starts happening. It wasn't the best lip sync I think from either of the queens, but they did both bring some energy. Lydia really did not give up here. Like, she kept getting that hair in her face, and she would flip it, and then she'd get it back in her face and flip it again, and that was, I think, really unfortunate for her, but I do think she still gave a high quality, high energy lip sync to this track. What she didn't do, as Aja called out in confessional, was have any sort of panties to, I don't know, like throw around on the stage, which neither her or Mistress did. But I do think Lydia rightfully wins. Mistress kind of gave the same park and bark with a little higher energy performance that she gave in last week's lip sync, and it was also her second, week in a row, so I wasn't necessarily wanting her to progress since she had two bottom placements, and Lydia's been doing well, and I think she did better in lip sync. So she shantays and Mistress sashays away. And this part of the episode was absolutely insane because she's walking to the back of the stage, and there are reaction shots of basically every single queen bawling in tears, absolutely shaken to their core, so sad to see Mistress going, despite all the drama and shenanigans and antics that had been going on. But the camera pans to Aja, and she cannot hide her smirk, her little laugh. Like, she is back there just, I think, feeling a little bit vindicated, and rightly so. Which brings us to the twist. Because y'all wanted a twist, eh? The twist is that Rupaul is going to be announcing the picks for the wildcard lottery of queens to be re-entered into the competition in next week's episode for the lip sync smackdown for the crown la 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 grand finale. And reading those selections, which were made by Ross Matthews, T.S. Madison, and Michelle Visage, are none other than our current All-Stars reigning queen, Angeria Paris Van Michaels, who looks absolutely gorgeous doing so. Check. But before we talk about which judge selected which queen for the wildcard lottery, I think we have to acknowledge that this sequence of events, Mistress walking off stage and then immediately going to reading the wildcard selections chronologically just doesn't make much sense because T.S. Madison and Ross Matthews are not even there. They're not even, like, are they in the back room? Are they peeping through a curtain? When did they fill these cards out? Which is a question that I was continuing to ask when I saw that the first card from Ross Matthews read Mistress Isabelle Brooks. And like, let's be real. Did Ross know that Mistress was gonna be eliminated? How would he have known to select Mistress for the lottery? She literally just walked off the stage, smelling yet another rig. The next few selections are from T.S. Madison and Michelle, both of who select Kerri Colby to be in the wild card lottery, which is fine. Love Kerri. I think she deserves a chance here. But are we just gonna ignore the fact that two queens who could have been chosen for this, who actually had wins in the competition and who would have been justifiable as a pick in this lottery, did not get selected? Denali and Tina Burner. Like, it's crazy to me that they were just completely left out of this raffle and the two judges were allowed to select the same queen. And as we know, when the show does things like this where there's fan voting or raffling or wheel spinning, it's kind of all just, you know, smoke and mirrors. But this one to me feels even more like a setup than previous random things that the show has done. Because I feel like they're just trying to leave us on this cliffhanger of like, oh, surely Kerri's gonna come back because she's got 2 out of 3 balls in the raffle bucket. But obviously, it's gonna be Mistress. I would be so gagged if the ball that Bruno chose ends up being Kerri. Because how could the producers, given how they've treated this season, given how everything has felt like such a setup, such a rig, how could they miss the opportunity to bring back the villain of the season, Mistress, to compete against some of her arch nemesis in the competition, like Ginger and Aja? I don't think they're gonna miss that opportunity. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, my money's on Mistress, but let me know who y'all are thinking is gonna come back down below. But that is where our episode leaves us, and next week we'll be watching the finale where our queens will be lip syncing for the crown, where I'm sure there will be our little friend Rigor Morris showing up to compete as well. As for hottest hot this episode, I'm gonna give my hottest hot in the challenge to Ginger Minj, and on the runway I'm gonna give it to Bosco. I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hots, and they voted for Bosco in the talent show and Irene the Alien on the runway. Since it's summer and I know y'all are traveling, I wanna remind y'all one more time to download Saily, a new eSIM service app offering affordable data plans in over 180 countries to your mobile device right now using my link below or QR code on screen. And don't forget to enter code BussyQueen to get my exclusive 15% discount on your plan. And lastly, I'm gonna give an extra special shout out to Ashton, Cayenne, Felicia, JPR, Laura, Matthew Burns, Mikal, Minst, and Will and Tanner, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye.